Before we begin our journey, we must first discuss some key concepts that will be central to our exploration of consumer behavior. Many of these concepts will be somewhat familiar to you, but I want to be sure that all of us are on the same page. This lecture will be relatively short as we only have a few concepts to cover. The initial concepts that I want to talk about are the exchange process and the difference between a customer, a consumer, and a prospect. And also, we want to talk about the marketing concept. Every time you make a purchase, you are entering into an exchange process with the seller. As a buyer, you have a need or want, and the seller has something that you feel will satisfy that need. To get this product from the seller, you must offer them something of value, usually in the form of money, that will satisfy their needs. The seller, or more specifically the marketer, can use various tools, such as advertising, to alert you to the products that they have that will satisfy the needs you have. Or they can use promotions to entice you to exchange your money for their product. So exchange is basically the process that involves the transfer of something tangible or intangible, actual or symbolic, between two or more actors. Now there are various methods of exchange. You can exchange through buying something or trading, renting or leasing, bartering, gifting, finding, stealing, or stealing as in borrowing something that may not be totally yours. But there is some variation between it, but it's not really that big of an issue. But one of the things I want to talk about next is looking at somebody that's done a really good job and has become quite famous in their bartering activities. Many of you may be familiar with Kyle McDonald. Kyle swapped a red paperclip for a house. Now, it wasn't a one-on-one trade. He kept trading up. He started out with this paperclip, which he swapped for a fish-shaped pin, and then he swapped it for a doorknob and then traded that for a Coleman stove, and he worked all the way out to eventually getting a house. So it took a lot of effort. As you can see, it almost took a year for this to happen. He had to travel all over North America, between Canada and the US, to make this happen. But he ended up with a nice house for a paperclip and some good memories and a book. So returning to the concept of exchange, there are 5 basic prerequisites. First, there must be 2 or more parties involved, and each party must have something of value for the other. Each party must also be capable of communicating and delivering what they promise. And each party must be free to accept or reject the other person's offer. And finally, each party must believe that it is appropriate or desirable to deal with the other. If these 5 conditions don't match, there will be no exchange. Next, I want to talk about the concept or the difference, if you will, between a customer and a consumer. Oftentimes, these two terms are used interchangeably, but there is a difference. And knowing the difference between them is important to a marketer as it determines the type of strategy that we're going to use. So with that in mind, we can define a customer as the purchaser or buyer of a product from a business. On the other hand, a consumer is a person who consumes or uses something. So as you can see, there is a difference. And based on this distinction, we can understand the strategic decisions that marketers make in trying to reach each customer or consumer. For example, think about the cereal market. Some cereals, such as Fiber One, target adults promoting the healthy aspects of their product. In this instance, the customer and the consumer could be one and the same. But think about the children's cereal market. While an adult is the customer, they're the ones that buy it, the kids are the consumer. At the same time, children are influencing their parents on what type of cereal to buy. Here, marketers promote the attributes, such as pleasure, the joy, or free toy, etc., to the target market or the consumer. A prospect, on the other hand, is often a term used in the business-to-business market as a person that is qualified and interested, that has demonstrated the ability and is prepared to make a purchase decision. So in other words, a prospect is one that is in the market for a product but has never purchased from you in the past. The last key concept that I want to cover is called the marketing concept. And this is defined as an organizational philosophy dedicated to understanding and fulfilling consumer needs through the creation of value. Under this concept, firms focus on the needs of customers and then make decisions to satisfy their needs better than the competition. This idea has been around since 1776, when Adam Smith wrote in The Wealth of Nations that producers should be considered only with regards to meeting the needs of consumers. However, it would be about another 200 years before the concept would be widely adopted. To fulfill the marketing concept, managers start asking questions such as, what do customers want? Can we develop it while they still want it? How can we keep our customers satisfied? In adopting the marketing concept, firms begin focusing on customer needs and aligning all of the functions of the company to focus on those needs and realize a profit by successfully satisfying customer needs over the long term. So that wraps up the key concepts that I wanted to talk about. So the next lecture is going to be looking at, I guess, the broad overview of what consumer behavior is.